here's an update which I find to be strategic when it comes to Algorand. Now, nothing I say is financial advice, but what is that? Did you know that a couple of days ago it was announced how the Algorand protocol development and ecosystem growth are now under one roof? What that means is the Algorand Foundation and Algorand Technologies have come to a strategic agreement to unify ecosystem operations. Now, they further on continue to say on this post that it's basically kind of creating a unified powerhouse. That's what they say, which, you know what, it's a pretty, I guess, impressive statement if they do say that. It's kind of debatable though, but here's the thing. I still do like this move because I think it's pretty awesome. We already know about the news about the Algorand Foundation not too long ago moving from Singapore back to the US, more specifically in Delaware. We already know that, right? So again, it moved from Southeast Asia back to the US, and I just thought it was pretty interesting news at the time. Furthermore, now we see something like this. So I do find it to be pretty cool. Now, people like to tell me who cares about this type of nonsense. Well, I actually find this to be really interesting and really cool because now, if Algorand Technologies and the Algorand Foundation is in one roof, it just makes things a lot more simple. It's kind of like the Sears Tower in Chicago back in the day, which I get it now is called the Willis Tower, but I'm saying, like, I'll actually post a picture of me in front of the Willis Tower, or should I say the formerly known Sears Tower. I'm going to post that picture right here, but I'm saying, besides that point, it's kind of like that, right? It's kind of unifying, I guess, the Algorand Foundation and Algorand Technologies under one roof. I think that is pretty cool, in my opinion. However, of course, another complaint that some people may have when it comes to Algorand is that, wow, did you see about the news where, they kind of laid off a bunch of employees, right? Not that long ago. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I mean, if I actually find this post right here, okay, I found it. So basically, like again, days ago, the Algorand Foundation, they said how they made the difficult decision to reduce their workforce basically by 25%. So assuming if they have, like, in a random make-believe scenario, 1,000 employees, that means if it's reduced by 25%, that means it became like 750. But that's just purely an example, right? But I'm saying they reduced their workforce by 25%. But I'm saying, besides that point, this right here, I get it. People like to say this is not a good sign and all this. However, they may have their own considerations, right? Maybe they want to have, less of an overhead. Also, furthermore, in some cases in real life, enterprises, large businesses, sometimes they hire consultants and then maybe they find like some, I guess, things that could be improved, right? In a business. Maybe sometimes they want to reduce overhead. So again, who knows the exact reasoning behind that? But in my opinion, it is what it is. What can I do about it? But at the same time, if I see Algorand again, unifying the Algorand Foundation and Algorand Technologies, basically, that's the way to take a look at it. If that is the case, I do find it to be pretty cool, despite the recent news that I saw also of them, basically, when it comes to the Algorand Foundation, reducing their workforce by 25%. However, they do say that the decision was not taken lightly. So again, they do express, I suppose, somewhat of a regret, right? Because they say it is a tough decision. I don't know if they really deep down do regret that, but they say it's a tough decision. So, I guess I'll believe them. Furthermore, they say that they have a more sustainable alignment of Algorand Foundation resources. So yeah, it kind of harps back to the point I mentioned before. Maybe they want to make, their operations more kind of lean in terms of the overhead. Furthermore, they say they remain fully focused on their mission. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as they're still focused, I have no like concerns over this basically. However, at the end of the day though, I mean, people like to tell me that this is like so bad and all this, but really, a lot of other projects out there are also kind of reducing their operations a little bit in terms of the workforce, right? We've seen that in some cases. Furthermore, we also saw like some projects out there completely just stop. Like the team just basically like, we're done. Some of the projects out there that I've seen have done that, right? So at the end of the day, really, when it comes to this space as of right now, it's not doing the best. However, if a project can still survive and make it, I do find it to be very impressive. But besides that point, When it comes to Algo, which of course is Algorand's native token, my kind of mindset is I don't even really need it to ever experience an altcoin season at this point, just because Algo is relatively speaking kind of low. Like for instance, as of right now, the market cap is like around 800 million, right? Not that long ago, the market cap was almost 4 billion. So we think about that, like that's such a massive difference right there. We're around like 5 times lower than that, which is like again, I think pretty fascinating because if Algo could just go back to that point, I'm already going to Brazil. That's my mindset, right? I'm already going to Ecuador because at the end of the day, like that's a pretty massive movement if Algo could go back to around a 4 billion market cap, considering it's now around 800 million, right? So again, if it could just do that, I don't even need an altcoin season anymore. Now, would I be happy if I did see one? Yeah. But we saw like around a 4 billion market cap literally in December of 2024. So we're talking about like slightly over a year ago. It's not even like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The last time we saw that was back in December of 2024. So again, if I take a look at that right there, there's a reason why I haven't given up, because if Algo could just go back to that point, which again, Algo is Algorand's native token, I have zero complaints, really, because it's just hypothetically speaking kind of low, in my opinion. I mean, if I take a look at it as well, it's not like Algo was like completely forgotten about. It's currently ranked 62nd in the world in terms of market cap within this space, so it's still a top 100 project. Furthermore, we also take a look at how, when it comes to Algorand, people like to say, oh, no one really cares about this, but we have to consider it does have an aspect of ISO 20022. It's a layer 1 blockchain that's known to be fast. Also, the gas fees are not completely ridiculous, in my opinion. Furthermore, we take a look at how it's supposedly very scalable. Not to mention, if I take a look at Algorand overall, I don't think it really loses out fundamentally when compared to some of the other projects out there. Sure, it may never become the most popular layer 1 blockchain out there, but at least I do see the fundamentals there. Not to mention, if we take a look at Algorand, it's allegedly carbon neutral, which I find very impressive because nowadays, of course, that is something that people often focus on. A lot of enterprises do focus on that. And I do like seeing that when it comes to Algorand. So again, I don't think Algorand is a bad project, at least in my mind. However, personally, I am still dollar cost averaging once a month, but I don't have to, but I'm personally doing it voluntarily because I still like the project and I just kind of find it pretty fascinating that it's still below a billion in terms of market cap. So yeah, I just haven't given up, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, again, if I'm looking to dollar cost average, personally, I'd like it if it's as low as possible, right? I can't control that, but if it happens to be below a billion in terms of market cap, yeah, I have no complaints dollar cost averaging. This is just personally my mindset. However, I just want to say I'll be sure to make more updates when it comes to Algorand moving forward. So hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. And I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a very nice day. I greatly appreciate it. It's Willie the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.